Hey guys, how's it going? So, my house burned down yesterday. Well, it wasn't really my house. I was living there. It was my friend Anthony's house, and he lost a lot more than I did. Shit's been wild though. Shit's been hella crazy. And, okay, well, I don't know if you guys could see this. Here's my deck of cards. My grinder was sitting on top of it. All my shit's like black, yo. I like keep washing my hands, but they're still black no matter what I do, so that's the thing. Basically, I'm feeling pretty, like, I don't even know how to feel right now. I've been kind of in shock the whole time, and now the emotions are like beginning to hit me a little bit, and I don't really know how to handle that right now, so I'm gonna pull some cards, and hopefully whatever message comes through right here can benefit somebody else. I'm in my car right now, posted up, trying to chill out for a second, get my thoughts together. So, oh, also, my phone has been, it's on such low battery. Of course, the one night that I didn't plug my phone in, the fucking house catches on fire the next morning, and I literally have not been able to get a full charge since, for some strange reason. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure this shit out. Okay. Treacherous, okay. This is like quite... This video's like super fucking ghetto, so y'all can just like not even judge me about it right now. I'm literally in my fucking homies pajama pants, sweatpants. They're pretty dope actually, I'm not gonna lie, they're sicky. But on a real note, I haven't even gotten any clothes yet. I was supposed to do that today, but I had a bunch of other shit to deal with, so I'm gonna have to do it tomorrow. Orale, guys. I'm like hoping that I'm gonna be able to get this whole video right now, because it's already taken me a while to get my shit together right now, and this reading, just the cards that I'm pulling, is gonna be intense, and I want to be able to get it all on camera. Orale. Okay, almost through the deck here. Okay. 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 basically, we're just gonna hop right in because we got a lot of shit going on here. I know a lot of you have a lot of shit going on too. Like, before all this shit happened with me, I've been like talking with a lot of you, working with some of you, and just like mostly just observing and staying in touch. And I know that everybody's had a lot of shit going on, so it's, you know, this past 24 hours has been super crazy for me personally, but it's been a really intense time for everyone. So let's see. It's kind of interesting, the layout that we have here. So this first set of cards, I don't even know if you guys can see this. Set of fours, the 5 in the middle. I'm seeing that a lot of us have had a lot of changes in our immediate reality, our immediate circumstance, and a little bit of turbulence in our relationships too. A lot of people. Okay, so with the fours here, one thing that is standing out to me with fours lately is that we kind of have this notion in our culture that like four is like it's the most stable, you know, that's what we build the foundation of our houses on and stuff like that. In reality, it's not, because if you remove just one component, the whole thing becomes unstable and the whole thing comes tumbling down. It's like quite dependent on its surroundings and like its other counterparts. You could say it's community in some cases. So I would say that a lot of us have been experiencing a lot of changes in the structures, not even experiencing changes, but also just like noticing, like, I know personally in my life, the structures that hold our reality as we know it in our society together, all the workers, like all the little worker bees that make up a hive. So, you know, this is all of your post workers and your trash people, and like you think about when you make a phone call into a company to pay your bills or something like that, and they have every agency has a set of procedures and policies in place for everything, you know what I mean? Like, you call the automated number, you push the buttons, it gets you through to the right department. That person in that department has access to the information that you need. They pull it up, they help you in the way that you need, they direct it, paperwork goes where it needs to go, etc., etc. Our society has been this way for so long that we've become, like, dependent on a lot of these structures, and I distracted myself, sorry. We've become dependent on a lot of these structures to the point that we don't even necessarily notice that they're happening, because everything is running as it's supposed to be, usually as like a well-oiled machine. That's why we get really frustrated throughout the day if things maybe don't go the way that they're supposed to, you know, like we get held up in traffic or at the grocery store, or like, you know, like some computer's not working, or like some component in that machine isn't working properly, and it throws us. And a lot of us get frustrated. It's that expectation that is there because we've come to rely and depend on these structures. We're starting to see now that these structures are fallible. I'm starting to see just little things going awry, little things going wrong, you know, like one little key point in that structure falls out of line or doesn't work, it sets off a chain reaction for the whole rest of it. I'm starting to notice all around, just like in my daily life. I don't know if any of you guys have been experiencing like frustrations, whether that be with money or agencies or anything like that. I know many of you have, and I know I definitely have been. There's a reason for that, and there's astrology backing it, actually, like really significant astrology. And, you know, like, if any of you even follow the astrology community, there has been, like, a lot of, like, ranting and raving for months about, you know, this Saturn-Pluto conjunction. We have all planets in Capricorn basically now, mostly. A lot of Saturn activity. This is all Capricorn energy. This is all responsible for structures and for our governments and for systems and that keep stuff like that in order. And it's funny, I'm starting to notice all this stuff just in my daily life, and it's funny when you notice it, but then it comes to a point where it's like the frustration and the annoyance. It's like the fork theory. When you have one too many forks, stick a fork in my side, you know what I mean? Like, you can handle so much up to a point. So it's funny when you notice all these little things in these structures, you know what I mean? These, like, little things going amiss. These systems are beginning to fail. But then comes a point when we have so much baggage and so much weight already that it just, a vague annoyance and a vague frustration turns into something so much more, something that becomes hard for us to even, like, bear in that moment. Because our realities are still dependent on it, too. Our realities are dependent on those structures, you know what I mean? Like, that's how we pay our bills and keep a roof over our head and have our everything that we need. So, you guys are gonna have to bear with me if I'm talking slow or scattered or anything. It's like my brain is, like, I don't even know right now. Almost just like in a constant state of shock where I feel like lucid and whatnot, but I just, like, I guess more of like being a little bit in a daze. So this next group we have a pair of sixes with a queen in the middle. This is like the same. It's funny because I've pulled this. Okay, and there's a reason for it too. So I've pulled this the last few times. It's funny. It's the Queen of Clubs too. Amira had commented last time saying that this was her card. Pisces, Queen of Clubs, the Queen of Fate. And I've pulled with the sixes on either end of it too. And the reason for it that I have pulled this is because, okay, so there's just like a lot of like collective energies at hand all the time, and there's always cycles and shifts and ebbs and flows to certain energies. And I know that for a long time, just in the last few years, a lot of us, more dominantly feminine energies, so this would manifest as women a lot of the time. We are talking about energies, but a lot of us women had a really turbulent past few years. A lot of us went through really detrimental relationships and life situations, and that was like kind of the focus of a lot. More so, and if any of you guys that have been following me have kind of heard me talking about it too lately, has been a big focus on healing masculinity. And like, I follow a lot of trends and stuff too, and I just pay attention to what's happening around me, and there has been a lot of men stepping forward, stepping up, stepping into their truth, doing the work that they need to do, facing up to their shit, and it's been really dope, and I've been behind that 100%. And all throughout that, you know, we've had these women that have been through so much lately, like recently, you know, and they're here, like, almost this, like, quiet, supportive energy in the background, like, And this, like I said, this is the same group of cards that I've pulled the past few readings, and I haven't really given them a lot of notice the last few times. And so this is more so to just take a moment to give, like, just so much love, gratitude, and respect to all of the women that have been through so much and have had to just, like, show up and deal with it. And you're here now still. And what's more than that, you're allowing maybe somebody else to be in the spotlight right now, even though maybe your hurts aren't fully healed yet. And you don't quite know exactly how you're going to go about going on yet. But you're still there holding it down like you have been the whole time, even when you were in turmoil. So, and this has been like a supportive, just like holding it down and everything that needs to be held down, you know what I mean? Like, this is with like children and home and just in daily matters. While all this other crazy shit has been happening, like, you guys have almost been able to put aside this, I said in some previous videos that this Queen of Clubs was, everything can be dualistic in its energy, anything can swing either way, and this one was almost a representation of a Pisces woman, or the feminine Pisces manifestation, more so, and that can swing to either being, this might hit home for some of you too, maybe for some men watching, this might hit home from what some of you are experiencing also. So, so this is either the woman that has been, this is so funny, this is for mostly men, this is the woman that has been your, like, I don't even know how to say it, like, just your matriarch, like, woman figure in your life. So whether that's your, like, significant other or the mother of your children, like, whatever predominant female has, like, had a grip on your life for such a long time, and has this, like, and this could be mothers too, like, any woman that has an immediate effect on family members, whatever, sister, you know, whatever, mostly. I'm sorry. Thank you for bearing with me right now. I'm super, like, scattered. Anyways, this is the other woman that has a firm grip in your life, has had a firm place in your life for some time, and has some control over some domestic matters in your life, whether that be your children, your finances, your home, or just your conscience in general. Regarding your daily choices. This is a woman that you're just now beginning to realize is severely delusional, possibly overwhelmed by, like, drugs or alcohol or, like, other crazy addictions, but mostly just, like, rooted in delusion. Just delusion. It's the main word. I know that'll resonate with a lot of you. But, veer back here, the other manifestation of this, on the other side of things for that Pisces energy, is basically the, like, pure form of feminine energy, in the sense that, like, the feminine is to be a spiritual conduit of sorts. So that's why I was, like, kind of giggling earlier about, like, the roles were almost reversed when I was saying that, like, women have been holding it down and been supportive while the men have been going through their shit. I didn't say it, but I giggled to myself a little bit because, like, traditionally speaking, the way that these energies work best together and the way that they were intended to work together is that the masculine energy is supportive and action-bringing, like, goes out and does things in the world. And then the feminine energy is basically, the best way that I heard it put was that man protects woman and child physically, and woman protects man and child spiritually. So while the man is creating this solid foundation, making shit happen, the woman is like channeling spiritual energy and protecting on that level. So this, on the other hand, is basically all of you women who have been through so much and have been doing your work and are now following your intuition and following your highest truth. This is just to, like, give you guys some props right now. Okay, I've been talking about this for a minute, so I'm going to move on from that. And then basically, so, pair of jacks with the 7 inside of it. This is not even this is not a message in itself. This is to call attention to the next set of cards that I'm going to pull. And this is basically saying that... Sorry, I got stuff coming up on my phone. This is saying that what you are going to hear next is a message, jacks, 2 jacks, so an important message, directly from God, 7, your highest self, your, like, whatever, words are tricky, you meant what I knew, whatever resonates with you, don't even be a bitch about it, you know what I mean? So this is a message directly from God in regards to, I wish you guys could see these better, how your relationships, or even your relationship with yourself, or how those relationships have affected your relationship with self, and how that has affected your highest calling, your true purpose. Pair of 8s and diamonds and hearts. This is your deepest delusions. This is your shadow. But this is your deepest, deepest delusions in self based on relationships. This is all of those, like, horrible codependent energies that come about that have a lasting impact on how you perceive yourself, but not just, like, on a self-worth level, but on a level of your self-delusions. Like, this is so hard to explain. Like, your delusions of the world. So we've had a lot of time and will continue to have time to address things like self-worth issues. This is all super relevant and important. But in the mix of that, sometimes we forget that some of the coping skills or even just habits that we have developed aren't also innocent, I want to say, or, like, from a victim mentality of, like, self-worth. Sometimes some of us have been hurt, and that channels into ways that maybe not necessarily that we hurt others, well, that can be true too, but ways that we intentionally ways that we unintentionally hurt ourselves when we self-sabotage. It says our self-sabotaging and, like, delusions. I'm so sorry, this is so hard to explain. I'm gonna have to think of an example or something. I almost want to say, like, delusions of grandeur, but it's not quite that. I've been having a lot of experiences in my self-work lately where, you know, we've had a lot of time to discover where our boundaries lie. And like I was saying, like, your worth, stepping into your power, asserting your boundaries with people, and, I got distracted. Somebody walked by. Asserting your boundaries with people and, like, honoring yourself. But I think that the more that we can be self-accountable right now, the more gracefully we're going to go about this time over the next couple weeks is going to be a lot of truths being uncovered for a lot of people. And this isn't something I'm going to get into so much. Like, maybe I can do another video on it, but that's more astrology related. But basically, if we can be self-accountable, like, we're going to be able to come into a lot of these truths a lot more gracefully. A lot of people are going to end up really embarrassed in the next few weeks because they're not able to be self-accountable. So I've been having a lot of experiences where I am beginning to see where I block myself. So say I'm in a situation where maybe I've been, like, betrayed or left behind by somebody that I care about, and it's happened so many times on a legitimate level, and then I can complain about how, you know, I was betrayed or left behind or whatever. I've been having opportunities arise lately that have been making me realize, and I haven't even had the chance to go back in past instances and, like, examine this comparatively, but just now I'm seeing situations where I kind of put myself in that position. Like, I had isolated myself from a person and thought that they had done so to me. So to kind of, like, bring things back around a little bit, and thank you for bearing with me, this is the other end of the shadow shit we've been dealing with. It's like, before I pulled the black eights, I've pulled those a couple times, and those were the ones I pulled every time. Those are more related, this is all karmic shadow shit. Those were more related to, you know, like, how you've been wronged, basically, and, like, the shadows that you have developed, like, as a defense mechanism. This is more so, like, where we are at fault in a relationship. This is the shit that we bring to the table that isn't fucking ideal. For whatever past relationship that you had, and now, like, for most of you that's relevant, it's like, you have all these bad things to say about that other person. I'm not for a second excusing, like, any, like, person that has wronged any other person. I don't know anybody's situations, whatever. But I'm saying that now is a time that's really important to finish closing all these doors that we're trying to close right now. That's more stuff that's astrology related. But I know that we're all feeling it. To finish closing these doors, like, we have done all the work to heal from being hurt. We've done all that. We have to make sure that we're paying attention. We need to pay the fuck attention right now to what it is that we're bringing to the table in relationships, and not just in relationships, but more so just in ourselves. Like, when you have interactions with other people, and then, like, more so, you have always a filter of, like, your own self that you converse with, like, in your own thoughts before you even have a conversation with anybody else. And, like, you're conversing with that version of yourself, your thoughts, like, in between every exchange, even within that conversation. Like, you're always consulting with yourself. And that's a practice of mindfulness, you know what I mean? But this is important because that self that you're consulting, and, like, that filter that you're seeing through, that's your perception. Also, that's the way we're choosing to perceive things. We're choosing to perceive the way people are treating us, and consequently, because of the way that we're choosing for them, because of the way that we're choosing to perceive them, we are then choosing how to act as a result. Thank you for bearing with me. My brain feels like sludge, like my house just burnt down yesterday. But basically, like, when you're consulting with yourself and you're having those thoughts and you're having those, like, when somebody does something, it's like every single thing, we're always gauging. We're gauging in every second. Like, that's how an interaction works. Is like, you're gauging their body language, you're gauging their next response, you're hearing their words, like, you know what I mean? And by that gauge, you're determining, like, how you're interpreting what they're saying to you. And, like, a lot of us who have been through a lot of shit and who have been, like, damaged, or who do have, like, mental health struggles and shit like that, like, we already know that we can perceive shit maybe, like, not exactly the way that it was intended, or even miscommunications can happen, which is more common, you know what I mean? And that's just can happen to anybody. But, so that's, like, your filter, like, of your thoughts and of yourself, and the way that you choose to perceive how people are treating you and how people are acting towards you. You are then, from there, like, once you have made that determination and chosen to see things that way, from there you choose how you're going to act accordingly, how you're going to respond to them, how you're going to respond to yourself, how you're going to treat them, like, how you're going to treat yourself. Like, are you going to withdraw? Are you going to engage? Are you going to be aggressive? Are you going to be passive aggressive? Like, we all have our own set and ways of dealing with things, and we all have our kind of own set of things that we fall back into when we maybe feel uncomfortable or triggered. And so this is to call focus to the fact that we need to be paying a lot of attention to that filter and, like, that perception and those choices right now, because we've already done all the work for, like, how we know all that fucking pain and shit that we've been through. But, you know, like, if we can't pay attention and be accountable and, like, notice that shit right now, then that's when people are going to end up in a lot of crazy situations, or maybe they're embarrassed, or, like, you know, like, and not the best outlook because they've been avoiding that shit. And the other reason that makes this so significant is because these cards, the Jokers, this is your fated trick of a relationship. This is, like, you know, for a lot of us it manifested as a relationship. You know, maybe some of us thought that we had found, like, soulmates or twin flames, or, like, at least somebody that was really important to us that we were completely tricked by. But for some of you, it maybe hasn't manifested like that, or some of you, maybe it has manifested in more ways than that. This is basically, like, the one thing in your life, like, the one vice. Like, the one, this is all a lot of Pisces energy. This is all a lot of, like, delusion, you know what I mean? This is the one thing that you saw was greater than anything else. And it turned out to be like the worst possible thing ever. It's like the most detrimental to your life. So this is really just calling a lot of attention to the fact that, like, everything that I just said about, like, the way that we are in relationships and stuff, like, the reason we have to pay so much attention is because, like, so much has been going on and, like, so much keeps happening for a lot of us, whether that's good or bad, you know what I mean? Like, life just keeps going, and it's, like, a constant stimulation, and sometimes, like, you know, like, a lot of us are dealing with, like, old shit. Like, a lot of our triggers are from childhood traumas and stuff like that. And so we don't really necessarily maybe realize that a lot of our more, like, recent traumas, or even in the past, like, few years or whatever, like, those kind of begin, like, melding into the rest and begin having their impact, too, in their own way, in their own subtle way, and that kind of forms into its own beast. So it's really important right now that we're paying attention to that shit, because, like, whatever this great, like, trickster, whatever this great vice was for you, like, for me, this was this relationship that, like, ultimately resulted in me going to prison. You know, like, it's so important that we pay attention to those things right now, and we get in the habit of paying attention to those things, because this shit that happened to us, that was, like, really significant to us, like, however that presented in your life, if you're not careful and you don't pay attention, that is going to impact how you choose to treat others. And it's been a really hard time, you know, so many of us have been through so much, and we say, like, I know a lot of us like to say, or, like, feel like we know that we would never ever treat somebody the way that we had been treated, or we would never, like, stoop to those levels. So pay the fuck attention, because a lot of the time our perception gets so distorted about how we think people are treating us that we maybe aren't always being fair to the people around us on the same token. But this is also another thing, too, though, is also kind of like a big, like, warning. Not even like a warning, but just, like, to pay attention to the fact that, like, whatever this shit was for you guys, and this is backed by the astrology, too, is that, like, there's, like, a lot of old shit, and it's just, like, it's happening in my life, it's happening in other people's lives and shit, like, there's a lot of old shit coming up right now, and a lot of us are dealing with a lot of different emotions. This is also just a warning, like, don't fall back into that shit, like, don't fall back into those same, like, murky waters, don't fall back into those same choices, and even if, like, certain people hit you back again, like, don't fall back into or even, like, new people, don't fall back into those same patterns with people, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just, like, pay attention. Pay attention to what's coming in around you, and pay attention to what you're putting out right now. And then, these next couple cards I'm actually kind of happy about. So that was all just a lot, you know, like, I know a lot of us want to be done with a lot of this shit that we've been dealing with for a really long time now. I know I'm over it, and it kind of seems like it's just going on forever, but I know that, like, a lot of us can feel it, that, like, we're closing doors and they're going to be closed for good, and it's because we're opening new doors. And so this is the door that we're opening, is pair of tens, the 7 in the middle. This is a divinely supported initiation. So this is like a completely new beginning of a cycle. So whereas a 9 will bring an ending and a beginning consequently as a result, because an ending always results in a beginning. That is like they're related to each other. Like it is it is a beginning resulting of that ending, and it's of the same cycle, the similar cycle. This 10 is just a completely new beginning of its own that's not even attached to that 9 or like those other previous cycles. So whatever beginning this is, like whatever doors that we closed, like are closed for good, and this is like new shit. And this is like completely God supported also. Even more so, being the 7 of clubs is like the ultimate, like highest form of God card. And then our 10s, our new beginning in self and in relationships. So this is once we change. I know, like, we've been doing a lot of work on changing how we perceive ourselves. We're still going to have to work on that. Like, we've only just begun, like, but we're getting the hang of it, you know what I mean? Of our self-worth and shit. But this is, like, once you get the full mastery of that, once you can see yourself fully and see how you are to others and shit, too, like, once you can see past that filter of your own insecurities and your own triggers, and you can begin to see how you truly interact with the world in your authenticity, then that's when you're going to have that new beginning, and then that is when you're going to see that reflected in your relationships, because, like, let's face it, we can't have, like, we're not having any room in our life, we're not allowing, like, good relationships in our life if we're, like, don't even realize that we're self-sabotaging and, like, pushing people away and shit like that, you know what I mean? And maybe even hurting other people just because, like, when we're acting out of... I had somebody tell me last night that, I looked like I had this look on my face, and she's like, oh, you just have resting bitch face, and she's like, you just look like I disapprove of everybody in this room, and, like, I disapprove of what you're doing right now, and I'm like, bruh, I've had people tell me that, like, I made them feel that way, that I made them feel like I was disapproving of them, when I was like, I did not even think that at all. And it was so funny, because when she told me that, I was actually feeling really insecure, because, like, a couple new people had just come in. I was in a house that wasn't mine, you know what I mean? Like, my house just burned down and shit, like, and when these people, like, this person came in I didn't know, and I was, like, sitting there, I felt really insecure, and, like, I was just, like, looking up, like, I don't know, like, just looked hard, because I was just, like, flexing, I don't fucking know, but it's just, it's funny. So once we can begin to see past that point of, like, past the point of my insecurity, to see that, like, I made other people feel, like, literally disapproved of, like, which is crazy, you know what I mean? But it's, like, once we can begin to see past our filter of how we choose to see the world and how we act as a consequence, and then how we make other people feel as a result of that, once we can see, like, how we make other people feel, and then how we push people away and stuff like that, too, because, like, we felt some type of way, or we were trying to get love and attention some, like, back route, confusing kind of way that maybe somebody couldn't fucking understand, bro. Like, that's when we're gonna be able to have these new relationships come into our lives, because we're actually allowing them into our lives, you know what I mean? And then, this last couple cards, pair of aces. This is just, like, the full, like, highest manifestation, like, of, I want to say, like, of self, but it's more so just of, like, any situation, like, this is just, like, the optimum right here, and it's in relationships and in clubs, so this is a fated partnership, perhaps? I don't know. And it's, like, strange that I'm even saying this, you guys, because, like, just level with me for a second. I hope a bunch of people didn't even, like, turn off when I just said that, because I don't even want to be in a relationship. I don't even care anymore at all about any of that shit. Like, and when I'm looking at my, like, astrology and, like, tarot videos online and shit, and I see anything having to do with, like, twin flames or, like, any kind of fucking, like, love astrology, like, I skip it every time. I skip the fucking love sections. I skip, like, I don't even give a fuck. And I don't care. And it just, like, is irrelevant to me. And it's just, like, seems shallow and shit anyways, and insignificant on top of that fact. So the fact that I even have just said any of that is kind of wild, because that's not what's on my mind. So, you know, that's gotta count for something. I mean, like, I'm not trying to apply that to myself, but maybe some of you guys will fucking find some cool people and kick it with until you fucking... I feel so cynical right now. I was either just gonna say until you don't want to kick it with them anymore, or, like, some morbid joke about, like, fucking being in a grave. I don't fucking know. So basically, that's it. Those are all my cards. This video is long as fuck, and I'm not really gonna have any more fucking precursors after that. Okay, love you guys so much. My hands are still black, and I hope that somebody benefited from this video, and it's like, I'm just gonna take a minute and say right now that if you do, fucking just let me know real quick, okay? Because I have some people fucking coming at me, like, weeks later, telling me that I benefited them a lot, and, like, that is all completely fine. I totally, totally respect that, and I actually, like, value and appreciate that even more, because, it's really, really nice. It's really, really cute when I can have, like, genuine, like, people actually come up to me in person and tell me stuff like that. So it's fine. But I'm just saying, like, if this helped you out, let me know, because I'm in a weird place right now. So it would be helpful to me if you guys, you know, feel like that's something that you want to do. Okay. I'm super fucking awkward and super fucking tired and sleep deprived and emotional, so I'm gonna go. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.